Welcome to the Traditional Dad Podcast. I'm Nathan Ross, your host, and with me today we have another wonderful father that wants to share their experience about being a dad, traumas, successes, and most of all, trying to motivate and inspire you guys watching this to be better father, a traditional father, and learning from the mistakes what we make as we go along. So introduce yourself, what you do, who you are, and your family makeup.
So I'm Michael Walker. I'm 38. I'm from Leicester. I work in aerospace. My family makeup is my wife and my young son, who's 4 now. So that's me in a nutshell in terms of my family life and what I do and where I'm at.
Yeah.
So that's a nice little introduction.
Nice. Let's talk about then your involvement as a dad in the family. Okay, talk to us about how much you involved with the child and your family and a traditional day and all that sort of thing.
So just to go start at the beginning and just give a brief understanding of who I am as a father.
Yeah.
So growing up, my childhood, was my father was very much traditional man.
Mm-hmm.
Put the money on the table, brought the food home, worked every hour that was given to him. My mum was a stay-at-home mum until we went to school, and then she started a school-time job to work around us. So in terms of family dynamics at home, I never really got to see my dad. Mm-hmm. My dad was heavily involved in social with rugby and things like that. So at the weekends, that was his time, which you kind of get old school, He needs his time to unwind. So me as a father, I'm quite the opposite. I try and spend, I spend as much time as I can with my child. So he goes to school now, just started school. I'll always pick him up from after school club. Mm-hmm. My wife works full time, so she drops him off. We come home from like 5:30, from 5 o'clock till bedtime. It's full blown family time. Yeah. Monday to Thursday. Friday, I finish early. I pick him up from school and we go to the coffee shop and we'll go to the park. We'll go back and play games. It's proper family time. Saturdays and Sundays are always family orientated. I'll always be there. I'll take him to rugby. I'll take him swimming. Mm-hmm. I want to be as hands-on as I possibly can. Yeah. I want to, when he grows up, I want him to say, if he has children, if he's lucky enough to have children, I want him to be able to say, I want to be like my dad. Yeah. Not, I don't want to be my dad. I don't want him to ever think, I don't want to be like that because it wasn't right for me. I'm trying to set up my son to be as successful in life as he possibly can, socially, heart-wise, mind-wise, everything. Yeah. So the more time I spend with him, mm-hmm. hopefully he learns a little bit from me. Yeah, and he'll remember the good times.
Yeah, and that's what you want your child to do, is remember the good times, isn't it? And so what's led you to have this role as being as involved as much as possible with your son? Because you've mentioned that your dad was a traditional dad. He came home, he brought the bacon home, he probably did the shopping and all that. And I suppose people our age, we had dads like that. They just went to work, moms were at home, mom was a dinner lady. They all did those little roles, and then my dad came, brought money home, and that was it. But so I feel like we've seen the other side of what a working class dad does. What set you up to then think, okay, well, I want to go opposite that and I want to be more hands-on? What made you make that commitment?
I think I had some trauma in my life. Mm-hmm. I lost my younger brother. My younger brother died when I was 19. He was 16.
Yeah.
And that changes your whole dynamic. Everything. It led me down a path I didn't want to go down. I couldn't deal with it. I didn't really understand mental health at the time. I didn't have a support network. Me and my dad kind of drifted away. He didn't know how to not be a real man in his eyes.
Yep.
And no one could really understand that I was still a child. Mm-hmm. And I have an opportunity to break a generational curse. And that sits with me. Yeah. And I think there's a lot to be said about the new generation. Everybody has a decision to make in life. You can either go the same path that or you can break that and try something new. And at the end of the day, you will fail at something.
Yep.
But as long as you find a reason, whether it be a negative reason or a positive reason, and you celebrate your failures as well as your successes, mm-hmm. you're not going to go too far wrong.
Very true.
You're not going to go too far wrong. So for me, the shift was going through that trauma that really broke me a little bit, made me realize how, if I ever brought a child into the world, how I need to be, because I know what I needed to feel.
Yeah,
and I didn't get it.
yeah. I think it's really particular. It's really strange because I did a podcast last night, and the guy had the same trauma experience of losing someone. He lost his brother as well, and he went the opposite way compared to what you did. And he went through a lot of trauma. So, and then we talked about mental health last night. I really want to touch on that again because I feel like our dads, when we grew up, it was very much do as I say, do as I told. There was no emotional connection. It was like you don't listen, you feel, which was a slap around the head or a belt or something like that. And I feel like like you said, we're trying to break that generation curse, as you might call it, and trying to be a different type of father. And so we're trying to go the opposite way and be more emotionally connected with our children, be more comforting, and be the carer and the giver. But my question to you is, how are you doing that now, more so than trying to go, trying to be like your dad and trying to be opposite? How is that manifesting and action wise? How's that coming out as in your role as a dad to your kid?
So it comes out. It comes out in many ways. I don't remember really, if I'm honest. My dad. I don't remember him telling me he loves me or he's proud of me. Yeah. I always felt like I needed to seek his attention, and it sounds crazy. So my dad was in the military, very strong individual. I always thought I made him proud if I had a bit of a scrap, and I'd go home and tell him. And he'd ask me how it went. Did I win?
Yeah.
And like you look back and you think it's crazy. Like I was seeking this attention in such negative and it was mad.
Yeah, and at the time we don't know any different, so we think it's normal.
No, like there's a vivid memory of I remember my dad coming home from a park one day. Well, he was walking from a job interview, and I had a bit of a scuffle with this lad, and I came running out to him, and I can't have been any older than 8. And I said, "This lad, we had a bit of a ding dong," and he said, "Well, go back in then." I'm 8. He said, "Go back in," and he locked me in the park and wouldn't let me come out.
and we're meant to be growing up normal, are we?
So and I can laugh. I can look back and laugh now because it's forged me in who I am today. So every night I will tell my son I'm proud of him.
Yeah.
I want to know what he's done at school every day. I want to be part of his homework. I want him to know that no matter what happens, he can come to me. I think a true test of if you're a good dad is if your child's in trouble, they run to you and don't run away from you.
Yeah. And
that's what I want to install, that no matter what happens, no matter how hard life gets, you're always coming home to me.
Yeah.
And no matter what, I'll always, I'll protect you.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that's one thing I never really felt as a child. Yeah. I always protected because my dad was a strong man.
Yeah.
But could I be protected in other ways? Probably not.
Yeah, yeah. No, emotionally, mentally, spiritually.
Yeah.
Most likely not. Yeah. And so you've grown up trying to be opposite of your old man and trying to be this man that your child can run to for help, support, show him how and caring for him, but also emotionally providing for your child.
Yeah.
Which is a massive thing that I think as dads we need to do more and more so these days than ever before. Because let's look at the influence of the world, what's going on with the world. There's lots of poor influences out there, and if we let our kids be influenced, it's going to be influenced by the wrong people. Let's talk about your family setup then, because you're married, did you say?
Yeah, married, yeah.
You're married, you've got a 4-year-old kid. As a dad, where do you fit? Where does your role fit in with being a husband, a dad, a worker, a protector? How do you make that role work in your setting?
Because we've got the perfect marriage.
Okay.
So and I mean that genuinely. Like my wife has leveled me out. She calms me. She makes me a better version of me. She makes me the person that I always wanted to be. So having that support network around me, and I've had to make some hard choices, and there's a quote which I would like to share actually. And I think it might register with a couple of people, hopefully. Don't allow the family you come from to affect the family that comes from you.
Yep, I've seen that before. Yeah, totally.
And if you really understand that, it puts you in a place. I joke about, I openly joke about it within my family. You know, it goes my child, my wife, my cat, me.
Yeah,
You know, I'm under no illusion, but I provide for my family emotionally, financially, mentally. You know, I can be everything my wife needs me to be. I can be everything that my son needs to be. But they also respect me enough to know that they need to be for me as well. And we have this lovely dynamic. You know, it sounds really cheesy, but I think when you find the right person, they can change your whole perspective, and it allows me to be the best version of me, and that's how I can fit into that role. It's not me. It's not me. You know, I'm under no illusion. I do my bit, but as a team, we do everything.
I had this discussion with my wife at the weekend, and we were talking about. It seems that a lot of men feel like they need other men to offload to and talk to and things like, which I get to a certain point. But if you've got the not the perfect wife, but if your wife is your best friend, your support mechanism and all that, they will see signs of when you're low. They will see signs when you're not reacting right or clicking right. They will see signs when things are quite functioning right and you're not optimizing who you are as a dad right. And I think once you've got that relationship with someone where they see the signs, that then you don't need to then offload to other men or anything, because your wife will call you out and they'll be like, come on, let's sit down. What's actually going on? And I think once you've got that, I know again it's not perfect partner because no partner's perfect, but I think once you've got that setup where you know each other so well that they can call you out, you can call her out, and you're supporting each other as a team, and they know they can see when you're going into a low, or they see that pathway of going into a dark place, they pull you out of it before you get there. Once you've got that communication and that therapy, which I think a lot of marriages don't have, then that's when success happens, isn't it?
Absolutely. Listen, I think the reality as well. I think if we're all honest with ourselves, especially me, you know, I've not been the perfect son, right? But by no stretch, I've not been the perfect partner, right? I haven't. But I've got an opportunity, which is the third thing, is to be a perfect dad. So if I've messed up on two, I've got one more shot. I've got to make one of them stick, haven't I?
You've got to make one of them work, haven't you? You've got to make one of them work. Do you know what I mean? And I know again, I think as a dad, I spoke about it last night. I feel like we're winging it anyway because we don't know how to be a dad. Yet we can learn from past experiences and past traumas and things that we don't want to be or we don't want to do as a dad. But the majority of the time, we can't be perfect because we're just literally winging it as a dad, trying our best, aren't we?
Absolutely, but that's everything in life. You know, you don't know what you're going to. You don't know how to school before you go to school. You know, you don't know how to do a sport before you play a sport. But eventually, you become a master at what you love. And if you love being a dad, you're going to become a master. That's just how life works. So if you throw everything into it, you're only going to succeed. But I think, you know, I want to touch back on something I said earlier. You've got to celebrate your failures, because out of failure becomes something. You can always take a positive from that. And I think that's something that's lost these days, you know, with trauma. You know, I've been through so much, you know, through my whole life. And when I lost my brother, I ended up homeless. You know, I ended up going into a help center. You know, I ended up going to a charity place where I had to stay in a shared house for a period of time. You know, I've come back and found my feet. At any opportunity I've had so many opportunities to throw in the towel and just say no. You know, last year, my dad, it was 2 weeks before his 59th birthday. He got rushed into hospital with kidney stones. It turned out he had terminal cancer, and 2 weeks later he died. And that's how I knew that I'd changed, because previously I'd have used that as an excuse to go off the rails. I'm coming up to 2 years now and not drinking. So I had an opportunity to use everything. But actually what I did was I went to my dad's wake, celebrated my dad's life, and then the next day I was building a climbing frame because that's what my son wanted. You know, life doesn't stop. But if you allow it to make you stop, you have every opportunity. So what I would say is, allow yourself to grieve, allow yourself to be sad, allow yourself, you know, find an outlet that's not negative, but don't allow the negative things to overtake your life. You know, there's so many things wrong with me, mate. Honestly, there's so many things.
I think
But
most men there isn't there?
no, absolutely. But I found a really good coping mechanism with everything is, you know, if something traumatic now happens, I think, how can I better myself from it?
Yeah.
I don't look at the dark side of things. You know, everything
I
now
want
is.
to touch on that a bit because I think it's really important that we go back on, because you mentioned alcohol
Yeah,
and you gave up alcohol 2 years ago, and then you've just mentioned as well that when things happen, you've got a coping mechanism that you see things and view things different. What's giving up alcohol done? Because the reason why I'm talking about this is because I work with clients and a lot of my clients give up alcohol. So I know the impact of giving up alcohol, but I want you, someone that can share to other dads, what has giving up alcohol done that's made you see that you can use other tools more clear?
basically, what it's done for me is it's just given me pure clarity. You know, it's given me an opportunity to understand that I'm better than I think I am. I always had a lot of self doubt.
Yeah.
I've always had a lot of self doubt because, you know, in life you look up to others and you think, am I as good as them? You know, I've had my parents say, I wish you were like this, and then
Wow.
it puts self doubt into you. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
I've had things
And it
said to
knocks your
me,
self-esteem as well, doesn't it? That
yeah.
knocks esteem constantly.
And giving up alcohol, when I used to have alcohol, I always used to revert back to losing my brother. It was always an excuse. No one ever questioned me because I've been through trauma. It was an easy thing for me
Yeah.
because I always had an excuse. And actually, it was like the worst excuse in the whole entire world because it was putting a bad name on my brother because I just used it to get out of jail free card.
Yeah.
And no one ever questioned me. So giving up alcohol actually gave me some self-worth. Made me realize that actually I am worth what I believe I am worth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's given, you know, I'm back in the gym now. I'm probably healthier than I've ever been.
Yeah.
I don't miss it. And the thing was, I never drank at home. I'd always binge drink. So I'd go Friday and probably come home Sunday.
Wow.
You know, that's
Yeah, and it was this
that's where I was.
had a child as well.
No, so when Theo came, I'd binge drink, but I'd only do it on a Saturday night, and then I'd come home, I'd be sick, and then I'd fall out with my wife. My fault, you know. I was again. So what it's done is
let's sorry. I hope you don't mind us focusing on that. I think it's really important that we get to explore this a lot more because I'm sure there's a lot of the dads that are going through this of using alcohol as a coping strategy and a coping mechanism, which then has a knock-on effect because, like you said, you come home, pissed out your face, wake up the next day, you'll be hungover, tired, kids crying, missus unhappy with you because you've been out all night. That ruins your relationship for the day because you were meant to do family-wise on a Sunday, but then you fucked up because you're too tired. What is the cycle that you need to break in order for you to say, right, because you've obviously broke it because you've been alcohol-free now for 2 years. So if you're going to give a dad some advice in breaking that habit and cycle, what would it be?
What I did was I took myself to a very quiet place and I said to myself, what's my future hold?
Yep.
Does it hold my wife and my child, or does it hold me?
Powerful question, man. Powerful question.
And I couldn't see myself without my family. And that was it. It was as simple as that. I wrote 3 things down on a piece of paper. My wife, my son, me. Done. And that's how strong the mind can be when you truly want something. And it's not until you lose something or you fear you're going to lose something that actually it gives you the kick up the backside. Like I say, I've got every excuse to throw it away. But why would I? Because it's everything I've ever wanted. I've got it. I now need to respect that. And I need to respect myself enough to respect what I want. And that's what I did.
Totally. And I think there's a habit that dads get into where they drink. It's like a figure of 8. They drink, they get frustrated, argument, and I reckon they get to a point like you did where they ask them questions, but they think, well, I'm not worthy, which is what you've spoken about before. I'm not good enough. No one likes me. I've always been told I'm shit anyway. So what's the point? This is the only thing that makes me feel good. So then they start doing that figure of 8 again, and it's like a non-stop, repetitive habit that they can't kick. And the true factor is what you did, and what it sounds like you did was you were just actually honest with yourself.
Absolutely.
And you just said, look, this is me. Do I want to be with my family or do I want to be by myself? And the real factor was, if you wanted to not be like your dad and if you wanted to be someone different, you had to choose your family.
100%. And, did I want my son to grow up not seeing me every day? No.
No.
Do I want to go home to a wife that doesn't love me or respect me, or looks at me in a negative way, that puts stress? How's that fair on her?
Yeah.
I have a heart. I'm not.
Of course, yeah. We are
You
men,
know,
we
so,
have hearts.
yeah, exactly that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just wanted to be honest with myself, and then you get to a point where if you truly look deep enough inside you. But I think also, what I'd call my superpowers is,
Yeah.
I can block everything else out. So I don't care what people say about me. I don't care what people think about me. I do me.
Mm-hmm.
I do me. And the fact that I can do me, I think, gave me clarity.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to think about anybody else
Yeah.
in terms of what do they think, I just knew, I know what do they need to think.
Yeah.
And I need my son to look up to me and be proud that I'm his dad.
Yeah.
And I need my wife to be proud to me, say that that's my son's dad.
I think there's power. There's massive, huge, like you say, superpower in having clarity on what you want. And once you've got clarity and on what you want, that creates purpose then. And then your purpose is the thing that drives you forward to be a better dad, a better human, a better husband. And
exactly.
And I think it's power. When you get asked that powerful question, then it moves forward. So we've talked about the past, we've talked about the middle, and going through alcohol and coming out the other side, and I think that's going to help lots of dads understand that alcohol is just a quick fix. It's never actually going to help you in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. What advice would you give to now dads, especially dads that are feeling like they haven't got a supportive wife or they haven't got a support system? Because if I'm honest with you, we're probably quite lucky that we have got a supportive wives, we've got supportive families and all that sort of thing. But some dads, and I know through my Tired Dad page, like there's so many dads saying like, my wife doesn't support me, or I'm on my own, or I don't feel appreciated, and all these things. What advice would you give to them?
I think what we need to do as men is break the stigma that you have to be a hero.
Yeah.
I think if you truly need time to step away, to understand what you need as an individual, to make sure that the environment around you is safe for you and your family, just do it. Don't be afraid that there's this whole thing about, man has to go out there, you need to go and make all the money in the whole entire world. You need to do this, you need to be strong, you need to do pull-ups, there's fitness pages, there's the Tate brothers, there's all this thing out there that I think gives a false sense of security of what a real man is. I hate the term man up. I think it's the worst term in the world. I think it's something that's very dangerous used in the wrong thing. What I'd say is, if you haven't got the right environment around you and you feel that way, create an environment that you are comfortable in, where you can then be the best version of you. Now, I'm lucky that I have that around me, but I've been in situations where I've had to step away. I've had to cut out people because it was the right thing for me to do. And it's made me a better person. I think if you can look at that bigger picture, it's very difficult for, and there's people that have gone through a lot worse than I have. I'm under no illusion. But if you can just stop for 5 minutes,
totally,
give yourself a chance to breathe, and don't get consumed in social media, in what friends tell you to do, because we're all influenced. We've all been part of it. We've all had our friends say, she's no good for you, she's the worst thing. Gets into your head. If you're not mentally strong enough to block that out and think for yourself, you're only going to be in that cycle of negativity. You need to find something that brings you joy, happiness, and positivity. Once you find that, everything else falls in place.
I totally agree. And I think one of the hardest things that people do is, especially for dads, is we take on this cape and we put the cape on that we're going to be this superhero and we have to provide, we have to protect, we have to do all this, which is great. Yeah, that is our role. However, we can't do it if we're mentally ill, or we can't do it if we're mentally poor, if we can't do it if we're mentally unstable. So all we're doing then is putting plasters on ourselves all over left, right, and centre, trying to stick up to this role model, and we can't. And I totally agree with you. I think these people like the Tate brothers, these people out there that are telling you to man up and do this and do blah, 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 and this, that, and the other, when the actual issue is you need to become confident in the person you are, like you did, and you need to know who you are, like you did, then that gives you clarity and purpose then to come back and go, right, this is who I am, this is what I need to do, and you're comfortable in doing that. There's a great quote that you become the sixth person out of the five people you associate with. And so
Correct.
if you're associating with five people that are just negative, that don't care, that are telling you you're worthless and all this sort of thing, you're just going to become the sixth person that doesn't care, worthless and stuff like that. And I think one of the biggest things that I've found in life is that getting around positive people, hanging around with positive people. If you can't be your wife or you can't be someone else, go to the gym. There's usually positive people in the gym. If you can't find a hobby, go fishing, do something that there are positive people that can support you and help. And that's why I set up the page, because it's just a bunch of men coming together, hopefully inspiring and positive people. So I totally agree with everything you've just said so far. What would you say is the biggest struggle that dads go through right now in the 21st century?
Thinking they have to be perfect.
Yeah.
You know, children were made for parents. And I think if you understand that, it doesn't matter, you're going to fail. You're never going to be perfect. You know, tomorrow will bring a new challenge. The day after that will be a new challenge, something you've never done. Every day is a learning day. But it's also a learning day for your child.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they've never been a child before.
Yeah.
We've never been parents. You're both on that same journey. If you understand that, you're going to go a long way. But there's this whole stigma about, you know, again, and I think one of the biggest things, you know, it's okay, and I will openly say it, it's okay to cry as a dad.
Yeah.
No, I cry. You know, I think sometimes, I've just parented so bad today. Mm-hmm. And actually, when I look back, I hadn't. I just put myself on a pedestal for no reason. Why have I done that? There was nothing. You know, he's got a roof over his head. I've not raised my voice. You know, I just think like I didn't give him what he wanted, and I beat myself up. But then I think, well, actually, no, I've done all right. You know, he's still happy. He's still fed. He's got a clean bed. Yeah. He's warm. Yeah. He's got everything he could possibly need. And I think dads today, you know, they think, oh, I've got to get the next thing for them. I've got to do this. I've got to do this. I've got to do this. No, you just be present.
Yeah, yeah. On your application form, I remember one of the words that stuck out for me was to remember. I can't remember what the sentence was, but it was like basically understand that you're blessed. And yeah, I think it's so easy to look at what we haven't got as dads, like. And compare, and like you say, compare ourselves. And there's a great quote that comparison is a thief of joy. And you might, as a dad, feel like you're not doing enough because you haven't got the massive car, or you haven't got the big house, or your wife hasn't got the latest handbags and all these sort of things. But it doesn't really. And I'm talking from my own experience. That I've had all that, man. I've had the big house, I've had the Porsche cars, I've had all this, blah blah blah. The most significant thing as a dad that truly matters is this: as long as your family are happy.
And actually a real turning point, not that I needed it, but it certainly has drawn my attention elsewhere now. Me losing my dad at such a young age, only 59. You know, my dad, I think probably you said it. I think a million dads and mums have said it. We all say we'd die for our children. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we all say it. We openly say that. But how many of us live for them? Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is, do we give them the best of who we are? Yeah, absolutely. I'll protect you. But do we actually live for them? Do we just sit there on our phones? Do we sit there on the tablets? Do we put them in front of a TV, shut up for an hour? Or do we actually live with them? Do we take them to parks, go and get conkers? Mm-hmm. That is now, since losing my dad, it's made me completely, okay, I died for them, but was I living for them?
You're the second dad. I've only done 2 podcasts, and you're the second dad that spoke about it's easy to be in the same room as your kids but not present.
Yeah.
And so it's easy to put your kids on a mobile phone, and we've all done it, haven't we? Just haven't sort this out, or go and watch the TV, or I've done this out. But I think once you become more aware of the impact you have on your kids and the impact of what your kids want you to do, and all your kids want is the biggest currency of all time, which is what? Time. That's it.
Time.
The other one is time, and that's the biggest currency you can pay your children. It's time. So definitely, I agree with that. Let's end on this. What advice would you give someone who's in a marriage, because you're in a marriage, that wants to create not the perfect marriage, but a good setup, what advice would you give to a dad that wants to change things with his wife, where he feels like his wife is more appreciative, that he's making an impact on his family? What advice would you give?
Do the small things right, and the big things will come.
Do the small things right, and the big things will come. I like that. I've never heard that saying before in a relationship, anyway. So I like that. Do the small things right,
Yeah.
big things will come. Explain some of the small things.
Make a cup of tea without asking.
Yep.
Load the dishwasher without asking.
Yeah.
Do things that, watch what your wife does on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Take some of that away without her even knowing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know. I'll add on to that, because I think initially we do them things to impress or to look.
Absolutely.
So we buy the flowers, we do the washing up, we go out for meals, and when after a while everything becomes very complacent, and then the flowers don't. And I remember my wife said we went through a bit of a difficult time, and when I came back, my wife spoke about, remember when you used to buy me flowers, blah blah, and the other month I bought her flowers, and little things like a card, nothing to men. We don't give a fuck about cards. However, our wives love cards. You know what I mean? A written, spoken word they love and stuff. And them small things, like you say, doing a dishwasher, just, I don't know, buying some flowers, getting a card, booking a date night without them having to book it, blah, blah, blah. Them small things will lead to the big things.
Yeah. And that's happiness.
Yeah.
Because appreciation is the biggest. You spoke about time with the children. I think appreciation in a marriage is the biggest currency, because once you appreciate each other, everything else just slots into place. You know that you've got the best interest for each other, and that all comes from the small things, because they're more recognizable. Like I say, if you went out and bought a Porsche, yes, it's great for today, but the next time you'll have to go out and buy 2 Porsches because it wears off. But if you take away some of the day-to-day mundane things without anybody knowing, or you're openly, you go and cook dinner, and you don't make a song and dance, you just do it. You don't need to do something to get a pat on the back. You do it because you love somebody.
Yep, totally. And I think it's very easy to miss that, isn't it? As a dad, it's very easy just to think about working, providing money, blah 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 blah, and this that, and we call it hustle culture, don't we? Where trying to get all the money and all that sort of thing. When the reality is, and I know for me, like I owned 3 gyms, had my own businesses, and blah blah blah, and just taking a backseat and running a business to how I want to run it, where I can be more present with my family, is probably the most important step I've ever taken. So, totally agree with you there. Totally agree. Mate, I appreciate having you on my podcast, man, because I feel like you've dropped some golden nuggets on the podcast.
I appreciate that.
And I think a lot of dads are going to take a lot of things a lot away, talking about the alcohol, talking about the family and marriage, talking about the traumas that you've been through. I think a lot of dads are going to really, really resonate with you and take a lot away. So appreciate your time, man, because I know you're on holiday with your family and stuff.
No,
I
want to say thank you as well to you. I followed your page for a while now. There's a lot of things on there that resonate with me. It checks myself every now and then. Mm-hmm. So what you're doing is giving equally as much, and I think that resonates with how many people. I think the last time I saw it was like 35 people have applied. Yeah. Everybody needs to support everybody. So what I want to end on is thank you, Nathan, for the time you spent with me today, because it gives me reassurance that yes, I am doing right, because I'm in a position now to talk openly and hopefully inspire or share or give somebody something from my own experiences. Yeah. And what you're doing is going to go a long way. So
appreciate that.
Don't stop, because what you're doing is the right thing.
Thank you, mate. And I'm sure you will, even if it's just one man, one dad, that's all that matters. And I know
exactly that
you're going to inspire one person somewhere to change, be a better dad, look at themselves and reassess where that. So, mate, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for being on the Traditional Dad podcast. Have a wonderful holiday, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you. All the best, Nathan. Thank you. Bye.